وعلى آل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة، ويا باب نجاة الأمة، قريب يا مظلوم كربلاء. لهف نفسي لصريع قد هوى، موثق الأكتاف من قصر الإمارة، لست أنساه وحيدا مفردا، وعليه قد هجم الأعداء داره. مذ أتاها فغدا جارا لهم، وأبى أن يحفظ القوم جواره، ما رعى أهل الشقا ذمته، لا ولا بنو الشرك ذماره، أتناست الناس مسلما، أتناست الناس مسلما، والنساء ترميه قصرا بالحجارة، حر أحشائي على طفلته، مذ رأت من عمها السبط انكسار، فغدت تسأله عنه، وفي قلبها الحزن قد غدا يضرم نار. يا عمي يا عمي يا عمي اعلبوا يا أرض نشدك، سولف لي عنه وانا عندك، اشوف خبر منه، اشوف خبر منه، مأذيك مقتول كأنه وحق جدك. لما سمعها جذب ونا، وقال لها جاني الخبر عنه، مقتول بالكوفة أظنه، وقطعة الرجا وأيست منا، إنا لله. وإنا إليه راجعون. سيدي يا أبا عبد الله، يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما يفتري الكذب الذين لا يؤمنون بآيات الله وأولئك هم الكاذبون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Please enlighten this majlis with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Often when we mention the word major sins, what comes to mind, sins like murder, sins like adultery, sins like stealing. And often we all agree that these are major sins, and alhamdulillah, these are not the kind of sins that we would fall into. However, one of the major sins that we often overlook and sometimes practice without even noticing, and we don't even think of it as a major sin in the first place, is the sin of lying. When we look at the Holy Quran and the narrations and the way that they speak about lying, we see that there is a great emphasis on how major of a sin lying is. In today's lecture, I would like to focus on how does Islam view this act, the act of lying. And hence we can understand further the scope of this sin, and why is it considered to be one of the major sins in the first place. And finally, I want to focus on what are the effects of sins on the individuals and on society, and how we can try and avoid sinning in our avoid lying in our daily lives. Inshallah, we'll start with the first point, which is how does Islam view the sin of lying after Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Just like with any theme that we want to see, how does Islam view it? We go first to the Quran and see how does Quran view this certain act or this certain event or this certain concept. Then we go to the narrations and see what do the narrations say, and then we try to come out with an outcome. So when it comes to Quran, for example, we have the story of Tha'laba bin Hatib. Tha'laba bin Hatib was a man who used to live in the outskirts of Medina. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi would often go to a mosque in that city, in the outskirts of Medina. Nowadays that city is in Medina, but back in the days it was in the outskirts. So the Prophet used to sometimes pray in different mosques around Medina. Sometimes he would visit that city and would pray in a mosque of that city. So Tha'laba would usually go to the mosque and pray behind the Prophet when the Prophet come around. Tha'laba would go to the Prophet and he would tell him, Ya Rasulullah, please pray for Allah for him to provide me with more sustenance. I want to be rich, I want to be more wealthy. Ask Allah to provide me with more wealth. Rasulullah would tell Tha'laba, the little that you have and you have control over is better than having a lot that you will be asked about on the day of judgment. So stay the way you are, it's better for you. Tha'laba remained silent. Then Rasulullah in the next trip, so when he came back to the city, Tha'laba would come back to Rasulullah and he would tell him, Ya Rasulullah, ask God to provide extra wealth for me. I want to be wealthy so that I can serve the community. Rasulullah told him the same answer. And here Tha'laba remained silent once again. Then Rasulullah would come again to the mosque, and Tha'laba would ask Rasulullah the same request. Ya Rasulullah, please ask Allah to provide me with extra wealth. And I promise, if Allah gave me wealth, I will take care of the poor of my city. I will make sure to pay sadaqah, and I will serve my community. So this time Rasulullah said, if you wish, I'll grant your wish. And he prayed for Tha'laba. So after Rasulullah's prayer, Tha'laba invested in few sheep. He bought few sheep. And those sheep, because of Rasulullah's dua, grew, and then Tha'laba grew into a big farm, where Tha'laba now has a large cattle of sheep. Now Tha'laba became amongst the wealthy members of his city. Rasulullah would send one of his companions to that city. He would tell him that, go to the city and collect the zakah of that city. So this person would go and follow Rasulullah's request. So as he knocks the door of Tha'laba would come. The person would tell him, I'm here to collect the zakah. Tha'laba would say, Jizya? I am Muslim. I don't take jizya. Jizya is the tax that a non-Muslim pay for their protection. So Tha'laba says, Jizya? No, I'm not paying jizya, I'm Muslim. Then the companion of Rasulullah would tell him, no, it's not jizya. I didn't say jizya. I said zakah. He said, I've never heard of zakah. I know jizya and I am Muslim, I don't pay jizya. So this companion couldn't force Tha'laba to pay the zakah. He came back to Rasulullah. He told him, this is what Tha'laba said. He said, there's no such a thing as zakah. There is jizya and he doesn't want to pay. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reveal a holy verse because of this story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ عَاهَدَ اللَّهِ لَإِنْ أَتَانَا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ لَنَصَّدَّقَنَّ وَلَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And from amongst them are people who give a promise that if Allah were to provide me with wealth, then I would pay towards the poor, and I will be amongst the righteous. And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided for them, فَلَمَّا أَتَاهُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ بَخِلُوا, they became stingy. وَتَوَلَّوْا وَهُمْ مَعْرِضُونَ, and they decided to go away. فَأَعْقَبَهُمْ نِفَاقًا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ يَلْقَوْنَهُ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would drop nifaq, hypocrisy in their heart, up until the day that they meet Him. And this story, according to some of the Mufassirin, came for Tha'laba. So we see Tha'laba of course knew what zakah is, but he decided to lie and say, I don't know what zakah is. And that act of lie, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned him in the Quran, that his heart will be a heart of a hypocrite until the day of judgment. So we see there is one act of lying costed Tha'laba an entire verse to be revealed upon him. But Allah promises that he will remain a hypocrite until his death. Let's look at other verses in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the verse that we began the majlis with, He said, لا يفتري الكذب إنما يفتري الكذب الذين لا يؤمنون بآيات الله. So indeed, those who would perform lying are those who do not believe in the verses of Allah. Now Quran, usually when Quran speaks of lying, the Quran focuses on lying against Allah, meaning saying that Allah says this, the Quran says this, the Prophet said this, Islam says this, but Allah didn't say so, the Quran didn't say so, Rasulullah never said so. And sometimes we practice this in our daily life. We have to be careful. When we attribute a certain thing and we say Rasulullah said this, the better thing to say is, there is a hadith that gives this meaning, because if I don't say the hadith itself, I'm not saying the word of Rasulullah. What's worse, sometimes what do we say? We have a certain opinion, and then we say Islam says this. But Islam never said that. We have a certain opinion. We say, for example, Islam tells us to be free, each to their own. Where did Islam say this? Islam says, La ikraha fi din. Who says La ikraha fi din means for you to be free and do whatever you want? Why did you paraphrase this verse or understand this verse to mean this meaning? This is also amongst lying against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is condemned in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would describe those who do such an act as those who do not believe in the verses of Allah. It's as if they are not believers in the first place. So this is how Quran views this act of lying. Let's look at the narrations, for example. One of the narrations, one of the companions would come to the Imam. He would ask him, "Oh my master, can the believer commit adultery? Is it possible?" The Imam would tell him, "It is possible. There is a chance." When he says there is a chance, doesn't mean that the believers do such an act. Rather, the believer could fall into a moment of heedlessness, a moment of forgetfulness, and he would commit such an act. And after istighfar, he will still remain a believer. This is what the Imam is. So the person will ask the Imam, "Can a believer commit adultery?" He says, "It is possible." Then the companion would ask the Imam, "Can a believer steal?" The Imam says, "It is possible." Again, the same meaning. When the Imam says it is possible, it's a moment of ghafla, a moment of forgetfulness. Then the companion would ask the Imam, "Can the believer lie?" The Imam replied with this verse that we started the majlis with, إِنَّمَا يَفْتَرِ الْكَذِبَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. Those who perform lying are those who do not believe in the verses of Allah. So the believer cannot lie. What is it about lying that makes it worse than adultery and stealing? This is a question that we can ask ourselves. Let's look at other narrations. Imam al-Askari salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi would say that all of the sins were put into a house. And the key to this house was lying. Ajib. What is it about lying that makes it this big? That it's greater than stealing, greater than adultery. That it is the key to all other sins. If we want to discuss lying and see what is it about it, let's think of it this way. Lying acts as a cover-up for all the other sins. Think of it this way. If I want to perform a certain sin, I wouldn't want people to know about this sin. So let's say if I stole something, how would I cover up for me stealing? I would say I bought it with my own money. So I lied. So I stole and I lied. Lying always acts as a cover-up for all of my other sins. Somebody would come to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He would tell him, "Oh Rasulullah, I got too used to sinning. I do all sorts of sins. And I don't know where to start. What can I do?" Rasulullah told him, "Ask one thing, only one thing. For you to do only one thing." So he said, "What is it?" He said, "The first step, just say the truth. You should not lie at all. This is your first challenge." So the companion said, "This is easy. You don't need to lie. This is the easiest one of them." Then this companion, he's used to stealing. He came, he wanted to steal, he remembered. If I stole this, when I bring it back home, I'll have to say I bought it. Oh, I can't lie, I can't steal now. He stopped, he didn't steal. Then it came to the other sin. When he came and he wanted to perform it, he thought with himself, if I were to do it, then I have to lie to cover it up. I cannot lie, my challenge is not to lie, so he didn't do it. Then he realized, by not lying, he has stopped all the other sins. So it is not that lying necessarily is worse than other sins. Rather, it's a pathway towards the other sins. This is what the Imam meant by saying that all the sins are in a house and lying is the key. Because it is through lying I can cover up for all the other acts. This is what is bad about lying. What else is great about lying? Great in the negative sense. Other acts of sin require some effort. For me to steal, I need to make a plan. When is the camera off? When is the shopkeeper not in? And what's the right time for me to go and do it? I need to make a long plan of how can I steal. And any other sin, same thing. If I want to commit a certain sin publicly, or even in private, I need to make some sort of a plan of how can I commit this sin so that nobody sees me, nobody recognizes that I performed this sin. As for lying, it doesn't need a plan, because the other person doesn't know that I'm lying. So it doesn't need a long planning. I can easily do it. This is one thing. The other thing is, lying is one of those few sins that can occur not only by words, but can occur in my heart. How? I believe in something in my heart. I showcase that I believe in something else, which in the Quran, they describe those individuals to be munafiqeen, hypocrites. They are in the lowest levels of hell. So being a hypocrite essentially is being a liar about your beliefs. So it falls under lying. So you see, lying is easy, I can do it. And the thing about lying is, because it is easy and doesn't need a lot of planning, then it makes me addicted to it. How? Because I get a reward that is easy. Think of it as a child. My mother wakes me up for Salat al-Fajr. Then I tell her, oh, I prayed already. She leaves me alone. I was like, this is an easy solution. I don't need to wake up. I just tell her I prayed. Next time, I keep telling her I prayed, I prayed, I prayed. And then I get used to lying. It becomes an addictive thing. I use it in all other sorts of life. In fact, sometimes we get used to lying in small things. For example, I get a phone call, where are you? Oh, I'm on the way. But he's still sitting down at home. This is also lying. Or for example, we didn't see you yesterday. Oh, I was busy, it was a long day. And he was just laying down on his bed. Or the phone rings, tell them I'm asleep. Or things that we write on our CV. So on and so forth. We get used to it, we see that. And how do we justify such acts? We say everyone is doing it. I'm in a world where I have to do so. So not only it is addictive, it's also contagious now. Because everyone is doing it, so I see I'm at a disadvantage, so I also have to do it. This is the issue with lying. This is why it's a great sin. Now let's look at the effects of lying. What are the effects of lying? For example, the effects of lying on an individual. Number one, we mentioned earlier, it could lead that for you to be from amongst the munafiqeen. Because you're concealing something and you're showing something else. It makes you live the life of two different characters. Two faces. One face you show to people, other face you show to other people. And lying is the way for you to become a two-faced person. So this is an effect on an individual. And as I said, lying is addictive. So in the beginning you see small rewards because of lying. But later on you have to live by the lie that you've created. Think of the beggar. The beggar, when he begs for money, even if he has £1 million in his bank account. He has to stay by that character. He can't change the character. You can't suddenly bring a Ferrari and you are a beggar. Doesn't work. You will lose the status of being a beggar. So, if I have to live by the lie that I have created, then it will make me live some sort of an anxiety. I'm always anxious that people will find out. I have built my character on something that is not real. Well, if I build my character on something that is real and I'm truthful, then I'm confident in my acts. I know for a fact I have done this. I know for a fact that my act is based on something real, that is out there. I don't need to worry. But if I live on a lie, I'm always in constant worry, even if I'm living the happiest life. So this is an effect on the individual. What about the effect on society? The first thing is to destroy a society, is to destroy the trust between the individuals of that society. If we destroy that trust between them, then it is no longer a community. So if the community members are used to lying, then the teacher will lie, the doctor will lie, the lawyer will lie, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I'm not aware of all the policies. The lawyer could easily lie to me and charge me much higher than the actual rate. Same thing with the doctor. Maybe I don't need to do all of these checkups. It's just a way to get more money out of me. Again, this is also a form of dishonesty. This destroys the trust between the society. In some countries, for example, the teacher doesn't teach the curriculum in time, so that the students would come to the same teacher and ask him for private classes, and then to get more money out of the students. If we do these kind of acts, we destroy the trust between the society. Then I will no longer trust the doctors, no longer trust the lawyers, no longer trust the teachers. Then there will no longer be social bonds between us. This is the effect of lying. We see it as a small thing, just a small lie. But the result of it is big. It's great. So, why do we lie in the first place? One of them we mentioned, which is, it is an easy way to get a reward. And we look at it from in a short-term mindset, with a short-term mindset. Another reason that pushes us to lie, and I think it's a very important thing to focus on, is the upbringing of the child. Sometimes we teach our children to lie without noticing. Number one, children learn through imitation. When the children see that we lied to get a certain result, they know that lying is a way to get things done. So, this is one way children can learn from the adults that lying is a good thing. Another way, sometimes we tell our children, we give them false rewards. We tell them that, or false promises. We tell them, finish your plate and I'll let you play. He finishes his plate, you tell him go to bed. Now the child will no longer trust you as a parent. And also this is a way you teach the child that you wanted something out of him, you lied. So tomorrow when he wants something out of somebody, he will lie. This is also one. Another way, which is indirect, the phone rings or the door gets knocked. You tell the child, tell them I'm sleeping. He goes, he says, Baba is sleeping. And you're awake in the bed, in the living room. Here you taught your child, you have ordered your child to go and lie. So these are ways where children learn that lying is a way to get things done. Then it becomes difficult for them not to lie. They get used to it. It's a habit at the end of the day. To choose to say the truth in every instance is a habit. Sometimes we get used to lying even, we call them small lies. How far are you? 5 minutes. And he's 15 minutes away. And we see this in different firms. The moment we see lying spreading out in society, we see it in different firms and spheres of society. I'll give you an example. When it comes to, for example, marketing, how many false advertisements have we seen in our life? When you go to a burger shop, you see a very beautiful picture of a burger, then you order the burger, you get something different. Or for example, they write certain labels that are not true, like brand new or all natural or such labels that are not true. When these things get spread out, initially, when we used to read all natural, we used to believe it. Now when we read all natural, we know it's one of the marketing tricks. But see how widespread it is, that everyone knows this is a marketing trick now. How widespread the lying is, that putting labels on things, now it's fine. If these labels are not true, we don't take it too seriously. This is why the ulama of akhlaq, the scholars of ethics, they would say the first step, usually the person would ask themselves, what is the first step? Same as Rasulullah said, the first step for me to be a better human being, for me to grow both spiritually, socially, and even my personality, the first step is to try and be truthful in everything that I say. Just be truthful. If you can't do something, say I can't. Yes, you don't have to be blunt. There's a difference between saying the truth and being blunt. You can't excuse yourself from a social setting, from an invite, in a nice way. You don't have to tell him, no, I'm not coming. You can tell him, I'm really sorry, but tomorrow I have a certain thing to do and I can't make it, in a nice way. There's no issue with that. And I'm sure the other person will understand. When I'm asked about time, get used to giving the exact time, if you can. It becomes a habit. Saying the truth becomes a habit. You see yourself slowly, when you want to say something that is not true, you take a break. Well, this is not true. Yeah. Then you start having some sort of immune system against lying. So this is the first step, to try and fight this urge of lying. The second step is to remember that if I am lying, it means I'm relying upon something that is non-existent. If I say the truth, I rely on something that is existent, that is out there. And I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one running this universe. By lying, I am relying upon other than Allah, upon something that is not there. By saying the truth, even if that truth hurts me, I am relying upon Allah. I'm relying upon the system that Allah is running. So I know He will take care of me. Even though if I lied, I may, in this situation and circumstance, be at a disadvantage. I'll give you an example. Sometimes in certain applications, whether it be a job application or university application, or applying for a visa, we write information that are lies, just to get the visa. Sometimes, by saying the truth, sometimes we have to lie. Sometimes no, we think lying is better, therefore I lie. We don't think that if I write the truth, Allah will take care of it. Write the truth and see, maybe it's not even the right thing for you to be accepted to this world. but stick to your values by sticking to truth. So this is another way to try and solve this issue or this urge of lying within us. Now when we look at our role models, and what better role model we have other than Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. What was he known for even before he portrayed the message of Islam? As-Sadiq al-Amin. The truthful, the trustworthy. So we see that the quality Rasulullah was known for even before delivering the message, because it is the base for trust. It's for him to be truthful and trustworthy. In fact, Imam Sadiq says, do not judge the religiosity of a person through how much he prays and how much he fasts. Rather, judge it through how truthful he is and how trustworthy he is in actions. This is how you know this person is religious or non-religious. This is the measuring unit. Another role model that stuck to his word and was trustworthy to the point that the Imam told him, sent him to check upon the people of Kufa is Muslim ibn Aqil. Muslim ibn Aqil was trustworthy to the point that he was responsible enough to go and check upon the people of Kufa despite the danger of the role that he is taking. So the story of Muslim, we see both sides. We see Muslim on one side sticking to truth and values, and we see that his name is still mentioned up until today. How many companions do we mention their names? Not many, every day, every year. Muslim is one of them that we always mention because he stuck to the truth. He stuck to this important quality. On the other hand, we see in the story of Muslim, we see people who told Muslim, we will be with you. Then Muslim suddenly sees himself to be all alone. He dealt with people who did not stick to their word, were not trustworthy. And that is one of the effects of lying. So lying is not something that is to be taken lightly. Be truthful, you'll be like Muslim. Get used to lying, you'll be like those who promised Muslim and didn't stick around with it. So we choose which side we want to be on. And with that, I will inshallah switch to the Arabic side of the lecture after Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.